So today I'm talking to Christoph Flaskamp of Tübinger Brewery, which is located a bit outside Santiago in Chile, in a really beautiful spot. Hello, Chris.
Hello,
And
Ron. Pleasure to meet you again.
yeah, well, that's always nice to go out to your brewery.
Thank
Anyway,
you.
so to kick off, how did you get into brewing in the first place?
Well, that's a good question. It's not really my background. Brewing isn't. My background is more in languages, but it was really out of necessity because I've always loved beer. I grew up in and studied in Germany, and I also studied in England, and I lived in Belgium for a while in my younger years. And then when I came to Chile, which is a wonderful country and great climate, great people, great landscape, and all. But only in at least in the 90s when I came here, the beer sucked. So I had to do something about that. So out of necessity, I just started making my own beer. First as a home brewer, and then when things were improving, after a while, and everybody starting brewing selling their own stuff. And I said, when they can do it, so can I. And yeah, I also took a course. I mean, not a real university course or any course a normal course, but I just learned everything with professional brewer from VLB Berlin, gem guy from Berlin who was a good friend of mine here in Chile, who actually opened a brewery just a few years later. He was one of the first pioneers to open a brewery in Chile, a craft brewery in Chile. We actually went there together. It's called Cross, remember?
Oh, yeah, I remember Cross, yeah.
Yeah,
Also in a very nice location.
very nice location, great beer. They're much bigger than us now because they've been around for a lot longer. And but he's a he's a great guy, and he taught me everything really. And I just started as a home brewer. Really, my idea was never to make any money with it or to sell the stuff. I just wanted to try and my hand at making some decent beer. And so the first 6 years, it was just for myself and friends and family.
And exactly how did you make the jump into brewing professionally?
Well, it was just that I was getting more and more passionate about it, and the beer was getting better and better. It was improving a lot. First couple of years were terrible, but then it was getting a lot better. And I saw and we had this this boom, craft beer boom coming. A lot of people were sort of that was the early 2000s, the early noughties. People were starting to copy the craft beer revolution in the States, and a lot of people just learned it off the internet. And then I tried that beer, and I thought, I might do a little better than that. So I said, well, I'll try. It was always, I had a day job, so I was doing this first out of fun, and then I thought I'll try my hand with it. But I was only brewing on weekends. It started really small, yeah, because I'm sure you're going to ask me about how, if it was any difficult to get any, if it was easy to get any brewing equipment. It was absolutely impossible in those days if you wanted a small scale brewery, because that just doesn't exist in Chile. So I bought one in Argentina, a very small one, 150 liter batch. It's nothing, 300 pint. But as I said, I was just brewing on the weekends. And the first year, we came out with the brand Tübinger. It just started selling really well. So after 1 year, I already had to, buy larger equipment.
And which year was this? Which year did you start?
I started preparing everything to come out with a brand in 2006, 20 years ago. and and then with another German friend of mine, we registered the brewery legally in January 2007.
Okay. And when did you release the first beer?
The first beer to be sold really after the brand name Tübinger was at the end of 2006, I would say,
Okay.
which is the opposite, season as in Europe, So it
Yeah.
must have been October, November 2006 when it's already pretty warm here.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then officially in 2007. registered as a brewer.
And what was the first beer you released?
Well, we started with three different ones, mostly English styles, actually: pale ale, a red ale, and a brown ale. And the pale ale and the red ale we still make today. The red ale actually is one of our best sellers until today, and it actually won the world's best red ale at the World Beer Awards last year in Norwich. So I'm very proud of that.
Okay,
Mm.
well done.
Thank you.
Um, and the ingredients, where were you getting those from when you started?
Yeah, at the beginning that was very difficult. So it was thanks to my mate at who was already brewing professionally. He was getting those huge sacks of barley or malted barley, malt at the local maltery, and he would just sell me the exact amount that I needed for my homebrews out of those sacks when I was homebrewing. And
Okay,
then when I started in 2006, there were already two different smaller, suppliers of brewing ingredients here in Chile. So, but it was still pretty difficult. It's not like today. Today you have at least 10 different companies offering stuff for small scale brewers as well.
that's quite a change. And where were those ingredients coming from? Were you getting local malt, or was everything imported?
Yeah, the malt is local. There's a local maltery which is also just outside of Santiago. They actually mold a lot of barley coming from Argentina, but it's molded here. It belongs to the big CCU, biggest brewery here in Chile. So they're
That's
always
Heineken,
around. They
effectively,
got
isn't
the
it?
monopoly. Excuse me.
CCU's Heineken, isn't it?
Well, Heineken has half of it, 50%.
Okay.
But they are the big ones, yes, together with ABI, of course. And they partly own that maltery. So they're always around. They have the monopoly on malt in Chile, and we always get malt there. That's not a problem at all.
And
And the other stuff,
hops?
the hops we import from Germany or US mostly. We get some in the south of the continent from Argentina, and there's a guy in the southern Chile, by close to Valdivia, who's also growing hops.
Have you used any of those?
We have, but only in small quantities.
Yeah. And which are the most popular styles for craft breweries in Chile at the moment?
That's a good question. I mean, it's when we started 20 years ago. I mean, you only had lagers in Chile, light lagers in Chile, so it was a total novelty to have some top fermented beers, and it was a nice novelty because it was selling really well. And then the IPA craze started, I would say, in the 2010s. There was a lot of IPAs, not very good at the beginning, but then they were getting better and better, modeling after the American IPAs. And now, all of a sudden, I would say, as of 5, 6 years ago, the big craze is the hazy IPAs, which I've never
Okay.
understood really because I never liked them, but it's what sells a lot now. And
Is
we're also coming back to lagers now because a lot of people
okay.
want to have lower alcohol beers, and when it's hot in Chile, it's really hot. So lagers go down really well, but well brewed lagers, really good lagers, not those cheap American light lagers.
Okay. But it's interesting to see how quickly trends move around the world nowadays.
Yes.
Um, because there used to be quite a gap between when something was hot in the US and when everywhere else took it up, and now it's like just 6 months and it's everywhere in the world. It's,
You
I
mean
guess
the
that,
craft beer revolution? You mean?
well, I guess that's the internet for you.
Yes, absolutely. But it took a long time to take off here. In the States, they started in the 80s and 90s, and it was totally virgin territory in the 90s here. It took a while, but now it's everywhere now. Mhm.
Because how much? Because I seem to remember them saying there's some ridiculous number of breweries in Chile, a number that surprised me, which was like three or four
Yes,
hundred.
we're around 400, I would say now.
Okay,
So, I mean, in Brazil, they're more than 1,500. It's a
there's a lot
much
more
larger
people live
country
in
as well.
Brazil.
It's a bit bigger, but in Argentina, which is not that much bigger than Chile, they have more than 1,000. But it's yeah, it's like I said, it's a big boom. Unfortunately, the market, just like everywhere else in the world, is going down now a bit, so a lot of us are struggling. So, but we all hope that we're going to recover from that.
So is the number of breweries still increasing, or is it stable or declining?
Uh, well, we have. I don't. I'm sure I mentioned to you that I also run the Craft Beer Association here,
Yeah.
so I know quite a bit what's been going on with the. We have members from all over Chile, from the far north to far south, and quite a few of those actually had to close doors, have had to close since the pandemic, and also due to the lower sales, which is a global problem. But at the same time, we have new ones opening up every year as well. So I would say it's more or less stable, 380s or 400.
And how open is the market for small brewers?
It's it used to be very, very difficult, very closed, and it still is actually. We are fighting a lot with the legislators in Chile to be able to get into bars, because the big guys, they do everything to have the market for themselves. And we've been talking to legislators, like I would think you would call it the National Prosecutor's Office, something like that,
Okay, yeah.
who have actually um, they've actually brought out a law that there can't be. I mean, there is the law, an anti-monopoly law in Chile, but nobody would respect that. But now that we've actually accused them of having monopoly, you know, what you call it, the way that
Practices.
they monopoly practices in the market, then they've actually ruled against that, and then they told them they have to have at least one craft beer in every 5 beer lines that they have in any pub that they have. And they can't just tell the owner of the pub, don't get any craft beer in here, or I won't be paying you any more money. They pay a lot for that too, pay for play, I think it's called, right? So
Pay to play,
that's
yeah.
pay to play. It's illegal, but they do it anyway. So it's tough, because it's also tough to control that. But we're fighting against that, and we're trying to get into more bars. The good thing is that the consumer is not interested in those cheap lagers anymore. They really want some beers with some more, some more character with it, and nice flavors in it. And that's why we've been managing to get into more and more craft beer bars. You've seen how many craft beer bars we have in Santiago now. It's
Yeah.
amazing. When I started out, there was nothing. So that's been going quite well. And a lot of those craft beer bar owners, they don't want to work with CCU. So that helps as well.
Yeah, but I guess in the normal bars, I mean, I saw a lot of cross beers around in Santiago.
Yes.
I mean, I guess who is it that owns them? Is it?
Well, Cross have since sold to the largest winery in Chile, which
Oh,
is
it's
one
a
of the largest
winery,
in the
isn't it? That's
world.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, the Concha y Toro. And of course, that has helped them a lot with the distribution. They have larger distribution than CCU, actually. Well, they sell to virtually every country in the world. So that has helped them a lot. But so they're not independent anymore, but they're obviously not quite as big as CCU.
No.
Mm.
And what about in sort of normal shops? How easy is it to get into those with your beers?
Yeah, and again, it depends. We quite a few bottle shops that actually they are opening up a bit more. They don't have. They're actually looking for those nice new cans. Now we're selling most everything in cans in Santiago. I always say Santiago because Santiago is a third of the whole country in population and everything, and the market is quite different in the south, where people drink a lot of beer as well, but they don't like cans in the south. They still stick to the bottles, whereas in Santiago the cans are coming much more than bottles now.
That's
And yeah, we
interesting.
have a lot of bottle shops who are interested in craft beer now. That's very good.
Because I remember there's a stupid number of breweries in the south, isn't there?
Oh yes, Valdivia, for example, is
Yeah, that's it.
I think together with Bamberg in Bavaria and in and what's the city in North Carolina where
Asheville.
Asheville, North Carolina. I think those are Valdivia, Bamberg, and Asheville are the three cities with the largest density of brewery per population. I think they have, if I'm not mistaken, they have like 100 breweries for 300,000 inhabitants. So
That's mad. Why
that's
is that?
that's only Valdivia.
Yeah.
Valdivia is like the beer capital of Chile because that's where they have very good water, very soft water, and that's where all the beer production started historically. All the Germans went there. All the German beer brewers, they all don't know why, but they all landed in Valdivia like 200 years ago. And the largest craft brewer, or the very first craft brewer ever, started in Valdivia. And he's now one of the largest in Chile. He belongs to CCU now. It's called Kunstmann. I'm sure you've come across him.
Yeah, I've come across Kunstmann beers.
Very famous. And a lot of people obviously have tried to emulate him because he's been very successful. That's why you have so many breweries in Valdivia. But of
Oh,
course, in
okay.
Santiago, there's a lot more in Santiago, but Santiago is, I would say, 10 times bigger. No, 15 times bigger than Valdivia. We have
Yeah.
8 million inhabitants. It's only in Santiago.
And so the beginnings of brewing in Chile, was that mostly Germans coming over in brewing?
Mostly Germans, actually. Actually, the very first commercial brewer in Chile was actually an Irish immigrant. His name was Andrew Blest, and he started in Valparaiso, which was a very important port in the world back then. That was in
Yeah.
1825, exactly 100 years ago now.
Well,
But
slightly
all the
more
others were
actually.
German. All the others were German. The whole south of Chile was populated or colonized by Germans because it was way too cold for the Spaniards to go down there. So they were happy to leave it off the Germans.
Yeah, well,
So,
it's surprising the number of Germans that you find in South America.
oh yes, oh yes, and people usually think it's all the escaped Nazis and all that, but that's just a very small number. The biggest number came in the 1850s when there was a huge revolution in Germany. The religious revolution. I think it was the Protestant. No, it
No, it's the
was some
1848 revolution. It's after that that
1848 was the big revolution. Yes, in
yeah.
all the German speaking states.
And you had
And
exactly
millions and millions of people just emigrated. They just couldn't stand. Apparently, the repression was terrible, and a lot of brewers too. So all the German named brewers in the states, they all came from that revolution. They were all
yeah, that's what
immigrants
I was
from
going to
that
say.
time. Mhm.
Because if you go to Shells in Minnesota, they were
Mhm.
founded in the early 1850s, I think.
Mhm.
And it was
Yes,
exactly the same thing. There were
yeah,
emigres who'd left at exactly the same time.
that's right.
Um,
Mhm. Must have been
yeah.
pretty bad that time in Germany. So, and that's when the first Germans came down here. The very first German, you're so interested in history, so I can mention that to you. The very first German who brewed beer in Chile actually was called Karl Anwandter, and he landed in Valdivia. And then Kunstmann claims that his ancestor came in the same boat. But
Okay.
because the Anwandter brewery unfortunately doesn't exist anymore, but Kunstmann just claims that he's just taken over from there. So, but why not? It's a nice story, and that's how it all started. But then in virtually every every major Chilean town or city, there was a German brewer.
And
But
which
they
is
all
the
consolidated like 100 years ago into the CCU, which means the Consolidated Brewers Union. Compañías Cerveceras Unidas.
which
No,
is the
the
oldest
United Consolidation of Brewers. That's what
okay.
CCU stands for. But it's more. It was just a consolidation of everybody under one roof.
Which is the oldest brewery that's still going?
Oof, that's a good question. I think none of them actually exist anymore. The oldest must be Kunstmann. They were founded in 1991.
Really?
Yes, well, CCU, of course. CCU was founded in
Yeah, no, I mean the actual brewing.
1920s,
Yeah, I
but
mean
the brewer, the place where they're brewing the beer now is totally different now. They have much more modern machinery now.
okay.
Not in the same place either.
Yeah, because I remember seeing the one CCU plant just outside Temuco.
Yeah, that's their most modern. And that was built in the 90s, I think.
Yeah, I mean it looked pretty damn new, but
Yeah. Mhm.
so the small brewers organization, what's it called again?
It's called ASI Chile, which stands for Asociación Cervecera Independiente de Chile, the Independent Brewers Association. Mhm.
When was
ACI.
that? When was that founded?
We founded that in 2018. Co-founded it with another craft brewer here in Chile, who's a who's a guy I admire a lot because he's a great entrepreneur. He's got 10 restaurants and a very well doing brewery in the south of Chile in Puerto Varas. And he studied in Boulder, Colorado in the 90s when the whole craft beer thing was huge in the States. And so he modeled it all after that. And yeah, that was it. 2018 is when we started.
And how do you have most of the small brewers as members?
We wish. There, like I said, there were like 400, and we had at one stage we had like 150 members. Now we're around 120 because a lot of them had to shut doors. But we have members from all over Chile, from every region in Chile, and we're by far the largest brew association in Chile. And and we're growing every year. So maybe
Uh,
one day we'll have them all.
and what are your aims?
Our aim is just to make the market easier for all of us, to make it easier to exist, to coexist in this market. Where the nice thing about the craft brewers, which I have seen everywhere in the world, is that we really get on really well with each other. We obviously we are competitors, but we still are facing the same problems. So it's always good to work together to try and solve those problems. One of the largest problems, I would say, is the alcohol tax that we're facing here in Chile. We pay 20.5% for every peso that we bill. So it's on price, actually. So that's totally unfair because the big brewers, they have they can sell at a much lower price because their costs are much lower and because of economies of scale and all that. So they sell their can for, or a pint of beer they can sell for $2, and we have to sell it for $5. So we pay more than twice as much just in alcohol tax.
That's
So
crazy.
that's
So
very
it's not
unfair.
it's not based on this alcoholic strengths, just
It's
purely
not
on the
on the
price.
strength. No, it's anything that's beer or wine pays exactly the same. If you're talking about strong booze, they pay more. They pay like over 30, but we pay 20.5. The wineries, beer brewers, all the same, and that is very unfair because, of course, I think it should also be considering the size of the brewer or the producer, of course, and how many liters we produce per year.
So there's no
Because that
reduction.
hits us really hard to pay because apart from the 25% alcohol tax, you also have to pay 19% income, no, what you call it, VAT, value added tax. So for every peso, we have to pay 40.5 cent.
That's getting up to sort of UK levels. That's
It's
very high.
it's very hard, especially if you're a very small producer. So we are fighting. We've been fighting. We've come up with a new solution, which is much fairer and which actually allows the state to earn a lot more in taxes from the beer, but they earn more from the big guys than from the small guys. That's the idea. And we've been presenting it to every government that has been changing for the last 8 years. And I think you just have to persist. Maybe one day they'll realize that that is a much better and fairer way. And other countries have done it too. In Argentina, they have a much fairer taxation than here. And I think in most OECD countries, they do too.
Yeah, well, I mean, in Britain, small brewers pay less duty. So
There you go.
when you produce under a certain amount a year, you
Hmm.
pay a lower rate of tax on your beer.
Hmm.
And it's the same in Germany, I know. And I think there's quite a few countries that have systems like that, which
That's right.
try
And
and
I
level
think
the playing field a bit between the big and the
that's right.
small
I
producers.
think in Germany you pay per amount of beer that you sell actually, and that is much fairer, isn't it? But well, so that is one thing. The other thing is how to get permits, which is terrible in Chile. It's a huge bureaucracy, and we're trying to improve that too, but that's going to take a long time. So if you want to open a brewery, for example, in an urban area in Santiago, it's virtually impossible. They're not going to let you sell beer or any kind of alcohol content to drink in any corner of the urban area. So that's why we actually open up in the countryside outside of Santiago.
Because I was just going to ask about that because obviously you've got a rather nice tap room on site.
Very
Um,
nice. Well, it's a bit far out. It's in at least an hour's drive. So
yeah,
that is the problem. But I saw in when I started out, I used to travel to Argentina and I went to Buenos Aires and I saw that they actually at that time they didn't have that problem at all. And every corner in Buenos Aires, which is also a huge city, you would have a brew pub, and they would just sell the beer in the brew pub. And they would actually be making good money. So, but in Santiago, that's just impossible. I know of only one brew pub within the urban area, center of Santiago area. We actually went there together. I don't know if you remember when a
yeah, no,
place.
I've been there twice. I went there with my kids as well.
That's right. That's the one that's pretty close to your hotel where you stayed the first time. Yes, the
Yeah,
Intrinsical, it's called. But it took them like 4 years to get the permit to brew and sell at the same place.
and I couldn't believe how they'd squeezed all the equipment there into such a small space
It is amazing. It is.
because it's not a very big space where the brewing equipment's in that place.
No, it's quite a miracle, and they actually brew really good beer. And I don't know if you remember Daniel, who took you to his small boutique brewery in
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. This
who makes
crazy
really
place in the
nice
half ruined factory.
barrel aged beers and all that.
Yeah, but
He's
that place
actually
he's in, it's like half ruined that building.
yes, yes, yes. He's moved out of there since because and he's merged with Intrinsical, so he's one of the brewers at Intrinsical now.
Oh right,
Yes,
that's interesting.
yep,
No, he had some really good beers and some
yes,
really good ciders as well. Because
yes.
I was
He's
impressed because he had a single tree cider, which I've never seen before. I've seen single variety ciders, but not single tree ciders.
yes. Yeah, no, he's amazing. He's passionate about all that stuff. Also makes mead and all. And he actually won a gold medal in Spain for kind of fire cider. You know what fire cider is?
No,
Cider that's actually boiled for many hours because cider isn't really boiled like beer, but
no.
they boil it and you get a lot more sweetness and a lot more alcohol. I think it's got like 11%, and it's really delicious. I tried it for Christmas this year.
Hmm,
Yeah, that's
interesting.
interesting. We do have some interesting stuff in Chile.
Yeah, and so any other big obstacles for the small brewers apart from bureaucracy, unfair competition, and
Yeah, I mean,
overtaxation?
the market mostly, I would say, is and it's pretty saturated now with 400 brews. I mean, if someone came up to me and asked me, what would you advise me if I to what shall I do? I want to open a brewery, and my first advice would be don't, unless you have a deep pocket. It's going to be very very difficult. The market is not very good at the moment, and we have a lot of breweries, and it's not easy. Our brand name is pretty well known now, but I mean, it doesn't. I don't want to be too negative. Maybe this is just a passing phase. I hope so. And I know quite a few brewers, especially people I know really well in our association, who are doing really well. But most of them, the ones who have their own restaurant, their own pub, that helps a lot
I think
because
that's
through
the same with
distribution is mm,
this is the same thing I hear from small brewers everywhere.
everywhere.
That if
Everywhere.
you
You need
haven't
to
got
have
a
your own
tap,
tap room or
yeah,
your own restaurant where you can sell your own beer. Because if you do it all solely on distribution, it's just very difficult on a low volume.
and who are the people who are drinking craft beer in Chile? Because one of the things that strikes me when I'm in South America is that it seems to be younger people than it is in Europe or America nowadays. Do you think that's true?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would say people between 20 or maybe not 25 when they already have a job, because when they're students, they always on the cheapest stuff. But 25 and 40, 45. That's really our the target group. Anyone over 50 or 60, they probably like wine a lot better. And if they think of beer, they think of the light lagers. It's amazing how people still haven't really adjusted to the new beer reality. And if I tell them that is a beer, it's a beer that's like got 8 or 10% alcohol, they say, ah, no, that's not beer. But the young guys, they already know.
Yeah, this
That's
is
it's a constant education. You have to tell people about it all the time.
yeah. I mean, it seems to be. I mean, the way I see South America is it's sort of like in a different phase of the whole craft beer stuff. So it's still in the sort of early,
We're
young,
still in the
exciting
growing
days.
phase. We're
Yeah.
still in the growing phase. We are still just below 2% market share, all craft brewers together.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah.
very. It's just a huge difference. I mean, we have two mega companies, AB InBev and CCU, who between them have 90% of the market. And then we have just about 2% for all the 400 craft beers. And the rest is taken over by imported beers.
And where are the imports coming from?
Oh, mostly Germany and a lot from Belgium, Czech Republic, Mexico, of course, with the Corona thing.
The US?
Yes, but not that many, because
It's probably too expensive.
it's expensive. That's true, and there are not too many importers who want to risk that. Whereas German beer, uh, being much cheaper, you get a lot here in Chile.
And do you think that there's any chance that Chile might start developing its own distinctive styles of beer?
Yeah, that is something that I'm really trying to work on with our association. And yeah, well, we have some distinctive fruit that you can only get in the south. Pete was here in December,
Pete
and we
Slosberg, you
were
mean?
Pete Schlossberg from the States, yes, of
Yeah.
course, the one and only Pete. Of course, there's also Pete Brown, who's very famous, but I invited him actually to come down with you, but he couldn't make it. Anyway, Pete Schlossberg from the States was here when we were judging in Concepcion, which is like 600 or 500 miles down south. And he was amazed that at the festival at the end of the week, there were like, I don't know, 20 brewers having their stand, and at least 10 of those had their own calafati. Calafati is like a fruit from the deep south from Patagonia, and they all had very decent beers brewed with that fruit. And he told me, Chris, that is the Chilean beer. You have to tell people that is the Chilean beer stuff. And I said, sorry, Pete. The first guy who started doing that was CCU. So everybody thinks of the CCU brand if they think of Calafate. So if I say that is the Chilean beer, they're going to profit from that. What do we have from that? But there are other fruits, some other interesting fruit here. What I like as well is the possibility of making grape ale in Chile, because as you know, we have loads of wineries. It's a real wine country, Chile. And there's some great possibilities to make really good grape ale. We actually brought one out last year, which has won quite a few medals, and I'm very proud of that. With a Sauvignon Blanc white wine from a winery in Pirque. We did it for the 100 years of the foundation of the town Pirque, where we have our brewery. And it came out really nice. Sauvignon Blanc with loads of dry hopping of Nelson Sauvin from New Zealand.
Okay.
Um,
I mean, so you think that could be the future of
I think the future, we should really try and concentrate on grape ale because there's so much variety you have here. Whereas in Brazil or Colombia, I have a huge variety of fruit.
yeah.
Here we don't have that many fruit, not that much fruit because it's not so tropical, but we have loads of wines and different wine grapes, styles, everything.
Well, I
So
think I'm
I
gonna
think
have to.
that is a possibility if the BJCP one day hopefully doesn't call grape ale only Italian grape ales anymore, that maybe we could bring out a Chilean grape ale.
Yeah, we'll just have to find some little twist to it that's different from any Italian grape ale, and away you go.
There you go, yeah. Mhm.
But I think I'm gonna have to wrap this up quite quickly because I've got a 40-minute limit on these meetings.